In today's video, we will be typing 3 characters from Terry Brooks's novel, The Voyage of the Jerle Shannara, Witch. The Voyage of the Jerle Shannara is a trilogy written by Terry Brooks. First published in 2000, the book follows a group of people on an expedition to find a legendary magic. Led by an old map, they navigate to the treasure on an airship called the Jerle Shannara. However, there's also a witch, the Witch, who wants this legendary magic for her own purposes. If you don't know what the Enneagram is, it just means that it's one of the 9 types found in the Enneagram. Now, I love the Enneagram, obviously, and I could say a lot of things about it, but I feel like the Enneagram Institute says it very nice and succinct on their website. The Enneagram is a powerful tool that helps us understand our motivations, core beliefs, and unconscious patterns that drive our behavior. Because there are many characters in the Jerle Shannara trilogy, I'm only going to focus on 3 for today: Beck Rowe, Quentin Leia, and Aru Meridian. Just as a disclaimer, I did read this trilogy about 10 years ago, but I don't remember a lot of details. I came up with this idea to start typing with the first book because I really wanted to reread the series and decide if I want to keep the books in my home or if I want to give them away. Beck Rowe is the main character in Jerle Shannara. He is described as being several years younger than his cousin Quentin Leia. My guess is that he's around 14 years old at the beginning of this trilogy. We see early on that Beck is introverted and highly skeptical of new characters and their potential motives. The only reason he agrees to go on this magical journey is because his cousin, who he loves and trusts, is eager to go on an adventure. Initially, I think that Beck is a 6-wing 5. Type 6s are often called the loyalists because they are some of the most faithful and dependable people on the Enneagram. They often think of worst-case scenarios before anyone else and keep a watchful eye over their loved ones. Fear is a huge motivator for them because they don't know what will happen next. A type 6 in your life may be the glue that holds together your family or friend group, or the skeptic that questions authority. I initially picked type 6 for Beck because he questions authority, but in a very quiet way. When Walker approaches Beck and his cousin about going on this expedition, Beck immediately starts questioning why Walker would want 2 teenagers to go on this big journey with him. Walker, of course, gives his reasons, but Beck is still highly skeptical of those reasons and if they're real or not. Type 6s often question authority because they're really afraid that there's a hidden motive. While type 8s question others by challenging them, type 6s ask a lot of questions and are generally very good at playing devil's advocate. I chose the 5-wing because Beck is quite thoughtful, like a type 5. There's a part in Witch when Beck and his cousin arrive in a kingdom that they've never been to. His cousin, who I'll talk about next, raves over how wonderful the kingdom is, while Beck keeps his thoughts to himself and doesn't trust them to words. He goes on to question how this kingdom has grieved the death of their king, both feeling skeptical and understanding. So let's break this down. First, we see Beck questioning the validity of his own words and saying nothing. Then we see him questioning the motives behind a kingdom grieving. For context, Beck is wondering why this kingdom isn't grieving their beloved king more, and therefore wonders if his death was intentional. But in the same thought, Beck also understands that everyone grieves differently and that we still have to go on with our lives. Other type 6 characters include Linus Baker from The House in the Cerulean Sea, Frodo Baggins from the Lord of the Rings series, and Ron Weasley from the Harry Potter book series. Quentin Leia is a leading character in this trilogy and the older cousin of Beck. He's described as cheerful, honest, and 5 years older than Beck. I'm guessing he's around 19 years old in Ilsewich. He is a talented tracker and wields the Sword of Leia, an ancient family heirloom that's apparently magical but shows no signs of such before the trilogy. Not to Quentin, at least. Something important to note is that he is a redhead, which is a Leia family detail throughout Terry Brooks's novels. Initially, I am thinking that Quentin is a type 7. Type 7s are the most enthusiastic and positive type in the Enneagram. They often crave experiences that stimulate them in some way and struggle to remain present even if their current situation is a good one. They often avoid pain and disappointment by indulging themselves in new things, people, food, places, etc. A type 7 in your life may be very popular, optimistic to a fault, and have an infectious love for life. I picked type 7 for Quentin because he is very eager to go on this adventure on this airship, which he's never been on before, and he doesn't ask many questions. As I said before, Beck asks a lot of questions and brings them up to Quentin throughout the book. Although Quentin takes his cousin seriously, he does approach things in a very positive, what's the worst that could happen kind of way. For example, I previously mentioned how Beck questioned the way a kingdom was grieving the loss of their king. When Quentin sees the kingdom, the first thing he says is, "This is what we came for, Beck. Isn't it all grand and wonderful, just what you imagined?" He's already swept up in the experience of being in a new place. Throughout Ilsewich, we see Quentin enthusiastically walk into situations because leaders tell him that his magical sword is needed. He even gets himself into some very dangerous situations because of this. Type 7s often don't look before they leap because where's the fun in that? Other Type 7 characters include Peter Pan, Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Rue Meridian is the navigator of the Jerle Shannara airship. Rue is described as being tall with a rangy frame and red hair. She is unafraid of people, often standing up to authority or putting others in their place when they are disrespectful. Initially, I think Rue is a Type 8. Type 8s are natural challengers. They are motivated by a need to appear strong and not weak. They are constantly on the lookout for untrustworthy people, but will also fiercely protect loved ones and the vulnerable. They also crave being respected, but secretly want to be loved too. They are often quick to anger and never do anything halfway. A Type 8 in your life may look intense, passionate, and have a soft side that only a handful of people get to see. I picked Rue because she is a challenger and is already showing a bit of a soft side in this first book of the trilogy. We see her have an immense amount of respect for her half-brother, who is also the captain of the Jerle Shannara airship. And she has a lot of respect for him, even though she doesn't usually agree with him. In fact, she questions a lot of his decisions as a captain, but she ultimately follows him and is okay with his leadership because he is also a very strong character. She's described as beautiful, but when Beck is caught staring at her, a man tells him Rue has that effect on people, but don't try anything. Beck even notices that Rue is unafraid of the men on the airship, often showing her anger and commanding their respect, while also being kind and funny to Beck. In my opinion, she probably likes Beck because he's unpretentious and therefore sees him as trustworthy. So she feels like she can be a little vulnerable around him and he won't take advantage of her. Other Type 8 characters include Harry Potter from the Harry Potter book series, Stanley Kowalski from A Streetcar Named Desire, and Negan from The Walking Dead. Thank you guys so much for watching this video to the end. If you did enjoy it, please click the thumbs up button. Please give me a follow if you haven't already. And please consider buying me a coffee. And I will see you guys in the next video where we will talk about the second book in the Jerle Shannara series.